So I let Claude run my entire computer without asking me for any permissions. I just auto-approve everything. And last month, it changed a number that I never asked it to touch in the first place. Now, most people worry about the same thing here. The one day that AI might mistakenly delete something that's actually important to you. In 3 years, it's never deleted a single file of mine. And it turns out that software, Claude in this case, already guards that door safely out of the box anyway. However, what it did instead was to silently and secretly rewrite over 2,000 euros everywhere that number appeared in any of my files without ever asking me for permission even once. So, what actually happened? And why is the thing everyone tries to protect against the wrong thing, the one habit I use personally every time AI breaks something, and at the end, the free kit that sets this entire system up free of charge for you. If you're new here, my name's Victor. I built and sold a 50-person company before the age of 25, then worked at companies like Apple, Adobe, and Cisco. And over the past 3 years, I've used AI to run every single part of my life, privately and professionally. And on this channel, I share the exact workflows that I use day to day. Now, back to that daunting number. And before I dive into any story, I'll share the thing that makes this my fault and not Claude's. I run Claude fully on its own without asking me any permissions, because I already know that I've locked my system down well enough on my own. And I guess also because one of my favorite mottos in life is high risk, high reward. So I gave Claude more access than most people would, essentially expecting that something's gonna break eventually. And I willingly took that bet as well, but it kind of went sideways in a way I didn't actually predict. But in all honesty, I would probably still take the bet if I got it again tomorrow, because I just hate clicking away all of those approval buttons. I just rather would have Claude run on its own, and if something breaks, I'll fix it instead. So here's what happened, and the part that still bothers me is not the actual mistake itself. I have a tenant in one of my rental apartments, and we agreed they would get 2,200 euros back as compensation for an issue that happened in the apartment. Now that number lives in a lot of places because there's a lot of conversations that are logged in my second brain that I've had with the tenant, with my real estate agents, with my renting agents, letting platforms, etc., etc. And what happened is that in a completely different conversation on a totally different subject, I mentioned in passing that it was 2,000 euros, just rounding the number essentially. And I didn't really think much of it. And Claude just went ahead and changed that number from 2,200 euros to 2,000 euros across all areas where it was mentioned without even asking me once. It just took the newer number, made every other file agree with that number, and never asked me which one was the right one. And I rely on my second brain as my single source of truth when I have a lot of things going on and a lot of things up in the air at the same time. So luckily this time around, I just managed to catch it. And honestly, I still don't know or understand why Claude chose to trust a sentence I spoke out in passing on a totally different subject over a number that was written down in a log at like 10 different places across my second brain. I have a guess though, but I don't actually know. But here's the part that properly changed how I actually think about this, and it's not the part I expected. You can ask almost anyone about what worries them about giving AI access to their files, and you'll probably get the same answer almost all the time, and that's that AI might risk deleting something. So when I set my system up for the first time many months ago, I built around exactly that. In my system, the only one who can actually ever delete anything is myself as the human. Claude can never do it. It can only flag what might be deleted or what's good to delete, but it can never delete something. I'm the only one who can do it. And if Claude flags something, it even shares an explanation to why it thinks a file can be deleted, potentially because it's a duplicate, for example. And actually, AI hasn't deleted any of my files over the last 3 years. Mind you, I've only had Claude have access to files for the last 6 or so months. So I built this system out of precaution, and it's never actually needed to follow the rules of the system because Claude also does have these things for not deleting files readily built into Claude. So it's awesome that Claude promises us to never delete our files, and we can build some stuff on our own to make sure files are never deleted. I feel super secure on nothing ever being deleted if I'm not deleting it myself. But again, go and look for that same promise for changing files. I mean, Claude could theoretically change an entire file from one thing to something completely different, which is essentially the same thing as deleting the file. And there are 0 guardrails for that happening, which is what we're talking about in the video today. For example, if Claude just deleted the entire file on my tenant, I would have noticed that in a day or two maximum. But now Claude essentially changed one digit from 2,200 euros to 2,000 euros, and I almost paid my tenant back 200 euros less than I should have, which would have caused a bunch of headaches. And to me, it would have been 200 euros, but that could have easily been 2,000 euros that I wouldn't have caught up on because Claude just silently made that change. And this could have all been a footnote about me and my potential stupidity. But this week, the whole industry, the whole AI industry, in fact, is moving in one specific direction. Because earlier this week, Claude Code, the developer version of Claude Cowork that I use normally, switches to what's called auto mode per default on their Pro, Max, and Team plans. And what auto mode means is simply that Claude is going to stop asking you for permissions since 97% of users just auto approve anyway. And instead, a separate safety AI model will review the actions instead. And now to be transparent, because I want to be honest with you guys, this is specifically for the developer-facing tool of Claude Code. But in today's day and age, Claude Code is not that much different from Claude Cowork. And I myself am actually considering moving over to Claude Code to get more advanced features out of my Claude subscription every month. But with that being said, I think the direction they're taking is the same everywhere, and I think it's going to eventually spread over to Claude Cowork as well. And it's just a matter of time before that happens. And I also think the reasoning for doing this is pretty interesting. Imagine again that people approve 97% of these "do you approve this action by Claude" prompts. I mean, that means I'm definitely not the only one just clicking auto approve always for everything. I thought I was crazy for doing that, but assumably that's how everyone uses Claude right now. And obviously, before you just say that everyone's being reckless and crazy, most of these prompts were for completely routine and safe things, like give me access to this folder, right? And that's the actual problem. When a question is nearly always safe to say yes on, it stops being a question and just starts becoming a button instead. So what Anthropic did is they went ahead and actually tested this in real life. So they did a study with over 1,000 paid testers, and they slipped some dangerous command into the prompts, and humans caught it about 13% of the time. But the remaining percentage, they never caught it. They just clicked auto approve. And another thing in this test that was pretty interesting is in an early session, when people were like fresh, they caught it about 17% of the time. But after 50 prompts, which at the end of the day is not that much, about 5% of users caught it. And 95% of users just auto-clicked approve. So obviously we don't start careless, but when we're getting worn down by prompt after prompt after prompt just asking us to approve stuff that is almost always safe, then we get inevitably reckless even though we don't intend to be. So if approving every step was never actually the real protection it was built out to be, then what is? And I have to give credit where it's due, because when I built out my second brain knowledge management and file management system, I was very thorough about making sure it was bulletproof. And I actually had Claude review the plan multiple times and suggest changes or improvement or fixes before even building anything. And I'm going to be honest, locking things down and making sure something couldn't be deleted was actually Claude's suggestion in the planning phase of me building my second brain file and knowledge management system. I didn't even have that stuff top of mind. I'm a non-technical builder, right? I don't think of that stuff. I just want to build, be creative, and move forward. So the honest version is that I just wanted maximum access. And I then asked AI to poke holes in my plan, and then I just did what it told me to do to fix those holes. But despite all of that, none of that touched the quiet edit, which is what we're talking about in this video. And that's the thing that actually got me. So here's the thing you can actually do with this intel now that you know it. And it needs no system, it needs no setup or no particular AI. Every time AI breaks something for me, whether that's an app I built, my health dashboard, a finance system, or potentially a number it shouldn't have edited in the first place, I do the same 3 things every time. So number 1, before I ask for a fix, I always first ask for an analysis and a deep understanding of how this could happen in the first place. Why did this happen? Because if you jump straight into fix it for me, Claude, the system is going to be patched, yes, but the cause for it happening in the first place is going to be left intact, which is most likely going to lead to it happening again. Number 2, I make it write the fix into the system and standing instructions so it actually holds for future sessions as well and not just dying in the chat that I'm actually in right now. Because a fix that just lives inside of one conversation, it's not a fix at the end of the day. It's simply a conversation. And number 3, I keep watching for Claude to potentially make the same mistake again. And I'm going to be straight up with you and tell you why I think it's important that this third step is in here as well. For example, for the 2,200 euro thing, I asked Claude to build a fix, which it did. And I asked Claude to make sure it never happens again, which hopefully it won't. But I'm only actually going to know that once a certain level of time has passed and I've seen that thing actually not happening again. So essentially I caught it, I asked how it happened, I asked Claude to fix it, and now I'm just silently going to observe and watch and see if something like that ever happens again. I'm going to stay on my toes for the upcoming week or two when I'm writing other stuff down to make sure stuff aren't edited silently in the background. So the habit for this week is simple. Do not just fix something when Claude breaks it. Ask Claude to understand thoroughly why it happened. Then once it's understood that, build a fix to make sure it never happens again in the future. Because that way Claude is going to write down what happened and make sure it doesn't happen again. So next time your AI gets something wrong, please try this approach instead and see if your results are better going forward. And if you try this out, please let me know in the comments below if it actually works for you guys as well, because I'm still in like the trial phase for this 2,000 euro thing to see if it actually worked. If you want a free version of my second brain that already does this automatically and kind of self-heals automatically with Claude, it also works in ChatGPT, by the way. I have a free download in the description below. It's called the Lara Starter Kit. And that's going to set up a complete knowledge and file management system for any AI. It's AI LLM agnostic. Doesn't matter if it's Claude, ChatGPT, Kimi K3, DeepSeek, or any other LLM tool. With these exact safety rules that I've been describing throughout this video, not just for deleting stuff, or rather not deleting stuff, but also for making sure that stuff aren't silently, secretly changed when it comes to information in your notes and your knowledge management. It's completely free in the description below, so grab a copy if you want it. And also, if you want to watch me build that thing out, you have the full video linked in the description as well, or somewhere over here on the screen from when I built that entire system out and then wait for you guys. So if you want this video to have been worth the 10 minutes you invested in watching, thank you for that, by the way, do one thing right now. Go and check what your AI has potentially been editing while you haven't been looking. We drop new videos every week on this channel, so feel free to subscribe if you like what you're seeing, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.